right, we're going to continue, or rather kick off the conversation with, once again, the gentleman that is charting the direction for Ellah Lakes Plc, the CEO, Mr. Chuka Mordi, joining me now for a chat on what he's called, or what he plans to call, a billion-dollar company in the near future. Good evening to you, sir. Can you tell us about the ongoing restructuring and business diversification at Ellah Lakes Plc?
Thank you very much for having me. Well, the restructuring is no longer ongoing. We've completed that. We've restructured the balance sheet. We've returned the company to solvency. I think if your viewers recall, a year and a half ago, we reversed into an insolvent shell on the stock exchange, but we've recapitalized that. So the restructuring is pretty much done. So we're now trying to move into growth phase.
Great stuff. And as far as moving into growth phase, you're going to need to make some strategic investments. Why are these strategic investments necessary for you in the Agro-Allied sector?
Well, I think not just necessary for us, also necessary for Nigeria from a food security perspective. Everything that we're focused on is in the import substitution space. So in terms of what we're trying to cultivate, what we're trying to scale up in, it's soya, it's maize, it's rice, it's oil palm. It's all staple foods and commodities that we import. So I think from two perspectives, from a food security perspective, it's good for us and Nigeria, and from an import substitution current account balance perspective, the more we save on importing food, the better it is for our current account balance. So that's the strategic rationale behind what we're doing.
All right. So you've turned things around, recapitalized. How is Ellah Lakes pushing into the new year, or rather this year, halfway into this year, so far in terms of earnings expectations?
I think it's a bit optimistic to speak of earnings expectations from Ellah Lakes. What we're doing is consolidating. What we're working on are long lead items, so we don't expect anything from the oil palm for the next 2.5 years because we only started cultivating last year, which is why strategically we're looking at soybean and maize, which is a 4-month turnaround. So we have short to medium term income streams, and we're doing cassava, which is a 9-month to 11-month turnaround. So we've taken care of our short term, medium term, and long term outlook in terms of income. But I think it would be too optimistic to speak of earnings for this year. Rather, it would be consolidation, growing our asset base, and looking at earnings from next year.
All right, great stuff. Now, of course, along those lines, I do have to pick up on a quote from you in a newspaper interview where you're looking at Ellah Lakes becoming a billion-dollar market value. Can I ask the timeline for that? Very ambitious.
Yes. Well, I think two things. The timeline is part of our 5-year strategic plan, and it's the culmination of our 5-year strategic plan. That's one. And I think it's important to articulate these things clearly. Market value and net asset value are very different from market cap and what we're quoted at on the market. And my point was simply in terms of assets and net asset value. When I look and strategically at the import value of what comes into Nigeria in terms of food from over the last 5 years. Last year, conservatively, we imported $10 billion worth of food, and that's discounting derivatives. If we took just 20% of that market, it would be $2 billion worth of value. So what we're trying to do is consolidate the company, grow the asset base of the company, and that's what we're leveraging off to actually increase earnings going forward.
Great stuff.
So I think it's not too optimistic to say that we can achieve that sort of value for Ellah Lakes inside the next 5 years.
Hey, we wish you the best. Got to bring you back and see how things are going. The CEO, Ellah Lakes, Mr. Chuka Mordi, thank you so much for joining us.